I'm going to run through the daily checklist with you so that you know what you should be doing for your daily checklist. So up here, we have our tension lines. So we'll come up there. We want to make sure that the red lines are matched up. If the red lines are not matched up, you want to match those up. Next up is the buttonhole knob. You want to make sure that that's at 0. If it's not at 0, remember that you need to turn it all the way around to get back to 0. Next one is your selector lever. You want to make sure that's on the proper stitch. So if this is somewhere up here, you're going to want to move it back down so that it's on 1, so that it's doing the straight stitch. The next one is our bobbin spindle, which is right over here. So you'll see that that bobbin spindle is clicked over to the left, which means it's not going to wind a bobbin. If it's clicked over to the right, then it thinks it's winding a bobbin, and you're going to have your machine not working. So make sure that's clicked over to the left. The next one coming down is your stitch width knob, which is right here at 0. If it's anywhere else, you want to move it back to 0. The next one is your needle position. This moves your needle over, so you want to make sure that that's right centered, and you can see that right there. Next up is your stitch length. So right here is our stitch length, and we want to have it at 3. So if you need to turn that until it gets to 3. Then our last one right here is called the stitch knob selector, or the stitch program selector knob. So not every machine has this, but some machines will have a red thing and a red and a green one right here. If we go back up here, you can see that there's red stitches and green stitches. That just means the different category of stitches. So if it was turned to the red, you're going to do these weird stitches right here, which is fine to practice with. But when you're doing your real thing, you want to make sure that you're on that straight stitch. So we're going to make sure that's on green. Okay, and then the last thing right here, every machine has this. So this is the zigzag and the lines. And then you have, I call it like the super hashtag or the waffle. You want to make sure that it is turned to the zigzag and the dash lines. Here's why. Let's move over here. So we have these things right here, and those are called feed dogs. And those feed dogs pull the fabric through the machine. There are rare occasions when you're sewing that you don't want your machine to pull your fabric through. And so because of that, you can drop the feed dogs. So I'm going to turn this knob, and you can see that my feed dogs dropped. So I'm going to come back here. It was over here. Now it's turned over here. Now if I'm sewing and the thing isn't sewing my fabric, it's not pulling my fabric through, that's because I don't have any feed dogs. I'm going to turn the hand wheel, and you can see that those feed dogs are not coming up. They're not going to be pulling fabric through. So if I come back over here and I turn it back, you can see I turned it back. My feed dogs did not come back up. So I need to turn it one more time so that those feed dogs do come up and they are engaged. And that is how you do your daily checklist. Go ahead now and you can play around with your machine, and so that you can make sure that everything is up to date according to the daily checklist.